What's up, all you beautiful people? So today I'm going to be talking about a little movie called Alien Romulus. Soft kind of sequel to the original Alien movie, I guess is what it is. Who knows what's going on with the Alien universe now at this point with all the different movies. I honestly don't really understand. It seems like they're just kind of making things willy-nilly, but every once in a while you get a good one. Turns out this one is one of those. I'm going to start out with kind of a non-spoiler section here in the beginning. Just a little quick snippet, and then we'll move on to like some spoilery things. There's not too much to spoil really, except for one very specific thing that is hilarious and horrifying all at the same time. But we'll just start with kind of the spoiler-free section here of the movie. Now, this movie surprisingly got high expectations for me because I listened to a couple of reviews on it and people were pretty high on it, surprisingly, especially with how the last few Alien movies have kind of been received. I'm one of those people who actually really likes Prometheus. It's actually one of my top sci-fi movies ever. I think people of the OG movie, both the OG movies, Alien and Aliens, don't like it because, you know, it's not what those movies are. It kind of turns into its own like sci-fi deep lore kind of thing in Prometheus, and that's what I love, and I think it's really cool. Whereas Alien and Aliens its own kind of horror isolation movie on one spaceship kind of thing, and then you have Aliens, which turns into more of kind of like a horror action kind of movie, which people like it for that. Prometheus tried to do its own thing where it really got deep into the weeds, creating the engineers and like how they produce the aliens as bioweapons and all this stuff, discovering this planet with these artifacts and structures and all this stuff, which I thought was dope. I love that stuff. So this movie kind of falls into a sweet spot. Alien, I believe Alien Covenant. That one kind of tried to stray away from the Prometheus thing a little bit because it was poorly received from the diehards. So I don't think they knew exactly what they were trying to be with that movie. They were trying to bring it back more to what traditional Alien was, like way back in the day. And they kind of missed the mark with that, at least to me, I think. I don't think that movie was bad. I actually enjoyed it, but it was still didn't feel like I knew what it wanted to be. It was like holding on to Prometheus while trying to be Alien slash Aliens. So it was just kind of caught in this weird spot. Romulus, I think, figured that out. Romulus is in that sweet spot where I think Covenant was probably trying to be with mixing the little tiny bit of Prometheus stuff, but going back to the OG things that made Alien so popular, where it is basically just people stuck on a space station and spaceship, and you know, an alien starts attacking them, fucking them all up. And I think it pulled that off really well. It built a world really well, which I really enjoyed about it. The aesthetic and structure and the colony and the planet that they're on when we first come out there, it's really cool because it feels futuristic, unique. Like there's kind of like the cyberpunk attitude, or like there's whatever other different kind of genres of futuristic settings that you might see. And I think that this one has its own kind of feel to it, which I really appreciated about it. I liked it a lot. They end up pulling off what I think that they were going for, which is to bring it back more to kind of a horror-centric, scare you kind of isolation on a spaceship thing, like I was saying before, and I really enjoyed it for that. The movie is really good. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about, is that from the opening shot of this movie, they have a really cool pan out to space, and it looks like you're looking at nothing, and a spaceship basically flies into that out of nowhere, and the outro of the movie is a spaceship doing the same thing but going away, disappearing into space, whereas the other one was kind of appearing in space. So you can tell just from the beginning that the opening sequence, it's like, oh, okay, we've got a different level of filmmaking here that I'm really going to enjoy. They have a whole bunch of different shots like that. They have one point where there is a spaceship trying to dock to a space station, and some stuff happens, things go a little haywire, and the spaceship starts flying. So the controls get knocked, and the spaceship's just flying over towards the side while some people are getting messed up by the alien. It has the lights lighting up the people inside of the space station running towards where the spaceship is going, and it's a really cool shot that shows kind of the silhouettes of the people running in the space station while the ship is kind of flying and going haywire and kind of hectic out there. And this movie has a lot of those things. I can't remember all of them. I'd love if I was able to take notes in a movie theater, but I can't, so we just have to go off the dome top. So those are things that I really enjoyed about the movie too. It was scary. There was new things put into this. I think the cast did a really good job. It wasn't too long. It looked beautiful, like I was talking about before. I really enjoyed this movie. That's all I got to say about it. If we want to move into the spoiler section, we just got to come out of the gate right away. The like biggest spoiler and like horrifying thing of this movie is that there is, I'm trying to think about how to explain it. They end up making some sort of genetic enhancement by using the alien DNA that they want to put into humans, because of kind of the idea of the movie in this one with the Weyland-Yutani big corporations that's always trying to get in, trying to capture the aliens and do all these different experiences with them. They end up making some sort of superhuman juice, I guess, to pump people up and make them better. The whole idea is that humans aren't meant for space travel. They're weak, they die easy and all this stuff, and the aliens are super durable. They have all these different things, and so they end up making this serum. One of the characters, the lady somebody that's pregnant, gets like stabbed by one of the xenomorph tails. Towards the end of the movie, she needs to get out and get kind of like cured and put into the what are they called? The freeze chambers. I forget what they're called, but she needs to get put into one of those things. While she's doing that, she has kind of the serum that they made, and she ends up injecting herself with it. So obviously, you know, that something's going to come out of this. What ends up coming out of this is one of the most horrifying things that I've ever seen. There's something about making a horror thing or a scary thing look humanoid while looking horrific at the same time. Because the xenomorphs, it's scary, and it was scary back in the day, but you know, we're all used to it. We've seen it now. Honestly, at this point, they're like kind of cool. But they end up making this horrifying looking xenomorph thing that looks like Slender Man. So it looks like a human. It's probably like 8, 9, 10 feet tall. It has a fucking tail. It has these long gangly arms. It has these long gangly legs, but it's all smooth and white looking, kind of like the engineers, which is why it was kind of weird, because the engineers from Prometheus kind of looked like this guy. So I didn't know where they were going to go with that, if like maybe this turns into the engineers. I don't know. Anyways, like I said, the alien universe is very convoluted and confusing for me when you get deep into it. So they make this thing, and this is like the ending battle scene, like with Ripley in the original Alien and at the end of Aliens. And she's having to fight this horrific thing that ends up like sucking the life out of the lady that ended up birthing this thing. And it's freaky because it smiles. It has a weird looking like vagina thing. It's horrifying. I hated it, but I loved it at the same time, because I was like, oh, they actually introduced something new in this Alien movie that actually freaked me out, and was very unsettling and was unique and different, which was something that I was not expecting. Now, when I'm talking about the high expectations that I had when I was coming into this movie, a few people that I had watched reviews of and a couple of things that I had read had said like, oh, the ending of this is crazy. I just could not believe the ending of this. It was fucking ridiculous. So I thought that was going to be something that was more like deep sci-fi, kind of ethereal, you know, explanation of the engineers and like what's going on with them and all that stuff. It turns out it just ended up being this demon, evil, Slender Man looking guy, which was different than what I was expecting, but it was still good. It was just different. Like, I was expecting more deep lore, plot twist kind of endings. Turns out we just got some horrific Slender Man freak horror show thing. and I hated this thing with a passion. Honestly, that is really probably the only spoiler thing. The only other things to spoil are like, yeah, everybody dies. This is an alien movie. Everybody gets smoked. Everybody gets fucked up. But they didn't feel stupid about it. They did introduce a certain, a thing, which maybe it was a thing in the other alien movies. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not that deep into the alien world. But that apparently they only see by sound and apparently body temperature. So they end up heating up a room to the same body temperature as humans to blind themselves to the little face huggers, which I didn't know was a thing. I guess if you could just do that all the time, but then they do that so they can just walk straight through them. Another thing that I love about these kind of movies is they have the androids. And I am a sucker for having robots have to interact with humans. It's one of the reasons I like movies like Ex Machina or Chappie or things like that, where robots have to interact with them. And the robots have kind of like the objective view of the world. Like, hey, I know you don't want that person to die. Watch them get murdered on the other side of this door. But if we open this door, we all die. And I love that stuff because it's showing what should be happening without the human fault and error of emotion and stuff. And I love that because like I just talked about a scene that happened in that movie where the android is the only key and access to have access to the space station because he's a Weyland-Yutani android. So he's the one who can open up all the doors and access everything within the space station. There is one of the characters is actually the pregnant lady that births the Slender Man demon. She is on the other side of the door, while the main character and one of the other guys is on the other side of the door, and they're yelling at the android to open the door, and he says, no, if we open that door, we will all die. And they're just screaming and crying. They see the girl get murked, or at least they think. And the android, just no emotions, walks in, and he's like, okay, we need to get moving now, before that thing figures out how to get in here, and just walks into the next door. It's just like, damn, man, it's so brutal. There's so many moments like that, and I love seeing the android's thought process. They're doing what they're programmed to do, and what they end up being programmed to do is whatever is best for Weyland-Yutani, which is the big corporate company within the universe of Alien. I just love that aspect, because I love seeing like what has to happen and how humans clash with androids. And it's kind of weird because the main character of this movie has an emotional attachment to the android that ends up taking them through the space station and giving them access. So she like cares for this android as a human. So then there's also that aspect put into it as well, along with the android not giving a shit. The android also gets a chip put into him that makes him a totally different like emotional kind of being, or all this stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that go on there. Go watch the movie. I highly recommend it. I know we're in the spoiler section anyways. I mean, other than that, this movie looks beautiful. It feels awesome. I love sound effects. I'm a sucker for when things are in space and things just go dead silent when there's some epic thing happening. A space station ends up crashing into a ring around the planet that they're on, and when you cut to the outside view, it's just the spaceship just exploding and crashing into the asteroid belt, the ring that's around the planet, and it's just explosions and fire and debris flying everywhere, but it's just dead silent. I love that. I love that stuff. It's kind of like one of the few good things about The Last Jedi is when they shoot that ship through the big ship. I love that. It's so cool. Yeah, so I mean, solid recommend on this one as well. I mean, the movies that I've been seeing lately are kind of bangers. Obviously Twisters, that's kind of a unique one. I wouldn't call, like, I'm gonna when I rank these movies, I rank them on my personal experience on them, not how good these movies actually are objectively. Twisters I gave a 7 out of 10, and I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10. And it's weird to put those movies only having a 1-point difference, but it's my experience and how I enjoyed watching them, not objectively like how good they are based on the effects and the acting and the plot and everything that happens within them. So it's kind of weird to put those movies at a 7 and an 8 when I think this movie is significantly better than Twisters objectively, but that's how I rank movies, so that's the way it's going to be. Let me know if you guys went and saw this movie. Give me a little bit of information, whether or not you enjoyed it, what you thought about it, what you thought about the previous Alien movies, what you think about the whole universe. And with that being said, give me a like and subscribe.